And joining me now is Republican Senator Rob Portman of Ohio. Senator Portman, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thanks, Chuck.
And as I noted, you and Senator Durbin head the Senate Ukrainian caucus, and you were recently in country, met with President Zelensky. And I kind of want to pick up there on the conversation I just stopped with Senator Durbin. Do you share this sense that Zelensky, that Ukraine itself might be willing to limit its interest in NATO as a de-escalation tool with the Russians? Is that a viable diplomatic solution here?
Well, look, it's up to NATO and up to Ukraine. NATO has an open door policy, and we have to continue to defend that. So I don't think that's something that we're going to decide. I will say two things. One, Dick Durbin and I are co-chairs of this caucus, and we have been unified as Republicans and Democrats in standing up to what Russia has done, both what they did with regard to Crimea 7-8 years ago and the Donbass region. In other words, they've already invaded Ukraine twice. And certainly now, while Ukraine is massing this unwarranted and very intimidating force all along the borders, not just the eastern border now, but the northern border and elsewhere. So we are together. Second, we're looking at putting together a strong package, which I hope we can pass next week, which would include sanctions, which would include more military assistance, which would include helping them to fight back against the cyber attacks that the Russians continue to use against Ukraine, and also to help on the disinformation campaign that Russia is actively involved in to try to destabilize the Zelensky government. So this right now, Chuck, in Ukraine is where the cause of freedom is being waged in our generation. And we need to stand up and be unified with our allies and as Democrats and Republicans.
I want to see if you can explain maybe what Zelensky is saying publicly and perhaps what he's saying privately. During his press conference on Friday, he was a bit critical of some Western leaders, including President Biden, feeling as if they're talking up war too much. Here's what he said. It's a bit of the translation. These signals were sent by respected leaders of their respected countries. Sometimes they're not even using diplomatic language. They think tomorrow is the war. This means panic on the market, panic in the financial sector. Obviously, he's concerned about his economy. At the same time, he was asking you, we need more weapons. He wishes our sanctions would be imposed before Russia invaded. Is he saying one thing behind the scenes and saying one thing for public consumption?
Well, look, he's got a slightly different constituency than President Biden. President Biden's job is to mobilize our allies, mobilize America to be prepared for the possibility that Vladimir Putin will make a huge mistake and put together consequences that will be devastating to try to avoid that from happening. President Zelensky obviously is trying to maintain his economic growth in his country, which, by the way, is pretty strong right now, and keep the country from panicking while having them be prepared. But we're together. That's what's important. As to Russia and what Russia is doing, the Ukrainians and the Americans are absolutely together. But so are so many other allies, really the entire free world. It's been very impressive as I look at what Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, the Baltics, and Finland and Denmark and countries like Canada and the UK have done. I mean, our alliance is incredibly strong. One thing Vladimir Putin has done successfully is he has strengthened the transatlantic alliance. And it's countries around the world who are looking at this and saying, we cannot let this stand. We cannot let this happen. For the first time in nearly 80 years since World War II, we could have a major conflict with, and a very bloody conflict in Europe unless we stand up together and push back. And so far, so good. We're doing that. My hope is that Vladimir Putin will see that and realize that the consequences will be devastating for him. By the way, Chuck, the other thing that was interesting in being there is that the commitment and the patriotism of the Ukrainians. Yeah. You know, I've been at the line of contact. I was there in 2014 after this revolution of dignity, and Ukrainians feel a very strong sense of nationalism, and they're going to fight.
Senator, you're speaking very optimistically about the Western alliance. Germany hasn't exactly been, let's say, as aggressive as perhaps the rest of the Western alliance would be, whether it's on shipping weapons or on dealing with this Nord Stream pipeline. Are you confident that if Russia invades, Germany will be on board cutting off the Nord Stream pipeline?
Well, apparently they're saying that privately. They should say it publicly. I'm also, as you know, a little disappointed in their inability to approve arms sales. If something was made in Germany, in this case in East Germany, they made howitzers that are now with the Estonians. The Estonians want to provide it to Ukraine. Ukraine wants these howitzers, which are older equipment, but important for them. And these are artillery weapons that the Ukrainians need badly, and yet Germany is not approving it. That makes no sense to me. And I've made that very clear in conversations with the Germans and others. So my hope is that Germany will step forward even more. But they're with us. They're saying that they would cut off Nord Stream 2 pipeline should there be an invasion of any type. And I certainly hope that's true.
I want to ask about Republican unity on this issue. I got to play you a clip here from Tucker Carlson, which has been leading more and more Republicans, rank-and-file Republicans, to question what we're doing with Russia and Ukraine. Here's what he said.
At this point, NATO exists primarily to torment Vladimir Putin, who, whatever his many faults, has no intention of invading Western Europe. Vladimir Putin does not want Belgium. He just wants to keep his western border secure.
I'm sure you love being asked about a cable TV news host, but it has led quite a bit of rank-and-file Americans to ask this question. I mean, are you worried that there is a movement in the Republican Party that has become pro-Putin?
Well, I wouldn't call it a movement, but I think we got to be sure we're understanding what's going on here. The Ukrainians are not asking for American troops to come to Ukraine. And I've gotten a number of phone calls from some of these cable news shows saying, you know, we got to keep our troops out of there. They're not asking for our troops, nor is anybody talking about that. We are talking about strengthening the countries around the region who are looking for more help, NATO countries like the Baltics, like Poland. Second, again, this is about the fight for freedom. I mean, this is a country that has decided that they want to be like us. They want to be a democracy. They want to respect the rule of law. They want to have a free enterprise system that's strong and vibrant. This has all happened in the last 8 years, and they have turned to the EU and turned to the United States and said, we want to be part of the West. And by the way, every year, Chuck, it's becoming more and more evident that that's where the people of Ukraine are, which is, I think, one reason why Vladimir Putin is moving now, because he sees it falling away toward the West. America always stands for freedom. You know, we are the country that believes that people's free will ought to be respected, that sovereignty matters, that that the dignity of the Ukrainian people matters, and this is what they want. So their territorial integrity is at risk right now, and it is appropriate that the free world stand by them.
Senator Portman, Republican from Ohio, who happens to be retiring. I was going to make you do your icky shuffle today. I have Claire McCaskill on the panel. She has her Chiefs mask. So I'll tell her to do an icky shuffle if you guys pull the upset. How's that?
I've got my Bengals tie on today, and I did wear a Bengals mask down in Nashville last weekend, but
we shall see.
So
there you go.
Go Bengals.
All right. Senator Portman, thanks for coming on and sharing your perspective with us.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.